Hello, hello, hello. All of my tarot trolls and oracle orcas. I don't know why I said that, because it's fun. I'm excited to be with you all today to talk about a new deck from my collection. This week, we are going to sort of play off of last week we looked at the Labyrinth deck, and my one really big gripe was that there was not enough David Bowie. So I had to kind of counteract that this week by doing a deck that is all about David Bowie. So it's the Starman Tarot this week. If you have the Starman Tarot, please let me know. We can bond over it. We can become tarot twins. So, this is the Starman Tarot by David de Angelis, who is creating this deck based off of his work with David Bowie. I love the little Thunderbolt box. It's an awesome box, awesome packaging on this deck. I'm freaking, just from the moment I saw it, I knew I needed it, right? Like, how could I not? The artwork is so stunning. And so David de Angelis, apparently, he sort of gives us his story in the book here. He met David Bowie as like a little kid. His dad owned an Italian restaurant in London, and it was right next to a studio where David was often recording. And like, he tells this charming story where like he's like drawing with a little pencil and paper, and David Bowie comes up to him and asks to help. And so he still has this drawing that like David Bowie was literally like doodling with him on this piece of paper. And then around the mid-90s, he had the opportunity to work with David as an artist on a couple of his albums. And so the idea for a tarot deck kind of came to him then, but he just sort of like thought about it. He made a few cards, sat on it for 20 years, and then the next thing you know, he's finding out that this person that he loved so much and had been a hero to him, and he got to work with him, and now he died. And we all, like most of us, have a story. We have a knowing and an understanding of what it's like to feel like David Bowie has left the planet. And for this person, their sort of cathartic processing of this idea was to really go all in and finish this deck that had been inspired when he started working with David back in the mid-90s, around 95. So I love the backs of these cards. Oh my God, I'm going to turn this off. My sister gave me this awesome ring light. But I want you to be able to see without that reflection. An awesome ring light and a cool tripod, so we'll be able to like look down and see this week. So what he's trying to do in the back is something like alien calligraphy. He is really going for this, he's really inspired by science fiction, different types of futurisms, ancient mystical symbols. He's trying to like put like a lot of different influences in. Like there's like clear influence from not just David Bowie's catalog, not just like elemental and symbolic visual wisdom that's been passed down through centuries, but also this very clear, like these like really otherworldly alien sorts of landscapes. Even a little bit of like comic book art. The color palette of this deck is so unbelievable. So many great plays with like light in terms of like, not just like neon lighting or like anything that is going to make a world look like an alien world, but like using thunder and lightning, and the way that that's used throughout the deck kind of as a motif, I think is absolutely amazing. So this is his Starman card, actually. So he's done a few tweaks to classic tarot, where we have, instead of the Magician, he has the Starman. Instead of the Hermit, he has the Alien. But he still has a lot of the other like classic cards there. He's still going with coins, swords, pentacles, you know, the classic suits of tarot. But with the court cards, he's mixing things up. Instead of a page and a knight, he uses a prince and a princess. So it's prince, princess, king, queen, for his court cards. But yeah, absolutely just gorgeous artwork. A lot of it featuring David, but not all of it featuring David. So there's a lot of really beautiful, like, representations that aren't necessarily gendered, that are supposed to go into this, like, what does like an alien race in the future look like that is commanding the elements with so much power. I love this Lover's card with all of these bees on it. For those of you who know me, bees are like amazing spiritual significance for me. Emperor. So yeah, you can see there's just like a lot of just imagery and like text that is supposed to be evoking a future, like defying gravity, the way that gravity is defied in this card. Like, even though she's like, is she standing on the land, or is she standing on water, or is she standing in the middle of air? Like, there's a lot of really, this really kind of like nebulous use of space where you're not quite sure where we are. Are we on land? Are we on sea? Are we in the air? And so there's a lot of very like playful energy with this deck, but don't get me wrong. So I don't actually use this deck a lot because she's dark. The energy of this deck is very dark. However, that is not something to be afraid of. So when I first got this deck, I was like, oh, like I love it because of David Bowie, but this energy is like a lot for me to handle. Like, can't we just keep things like happy and positive and on the up? But I've really come to value this deck in my collection because I've really grown to see the value of like shadow work, going into the shadows, going into those parts of you that have dark, because we're all made up of both dark and light. So this is a really great deck that I highly recommend if you're a Bowie fan. I highly recommend it if you are into like science fiction, magical realism, any sort of futurism, like artistic futurism or social futurism. I think that there is something aesthetic and energetic that you could really get out of this deck. But also, like, this is a great deck for questions like, you know, exploring the sacred nature of anger, your own anger. Like, how can my anger be a gift? How can it be a tool that I can leverage for my highest good, for my learning? How is this dark situation something that can help bring us together as a society? I often go to this deck when I'm looking into some of that like darkness that we see in society sometimes. Like, there's just like all this stuff happening, and it's not like it hasn't always been like this, but it just seems so like ever present right now, just this ever presentness of it. And it's a lot to hold, and it's a lot to carry, and it's really appropriate to find ways and spaces that you can be not like friendly, if that's a word that you don't like, but I like to be friendly with the darkness. Not that it's like a place where I'm going to live rent free, but it's a place that I'm going to allow in and say, how can we work together? What can I learn from you? How can I help you like meet where I want to be in the light? You know, where can we find a point of balance between light and dark? So this is a really great deck for that reason. In terms of like sensory stuff, this deck is really, so it's tall, but it's a little skinny. It's sort of like, you know, the thin white Duke, like David Bowie was. It's very tall, but it's very skinny. So it's not too difficult to hold. It's a little past my capacity to shuffle. It doesn't shuffle super comfortably for me. And I got a lot of stuff that got flipped, so I'm wondering what's going on here. Like, all of a sudden, there's all of this chaos, and things have gone into chunks. But again, this deck is a deck. It's not like it attracts chaos, but I think it could. I think you have to be very careful, the energy that you're approaching this particular deck with, because there is this dark note that I feel like the author kind of intended to be there. I read something when I was reading his introduction earlier, and he was saying that David had actually asked him when they were working together, David asked him for something disturbing, cutting, yet infused with hypnotic, otherworldly beauty. And that is 1000% this deck. So there are images that can be a little uncomfortable even to look at. Some like that are like a little, oh, like case in point right here. So our fool in this deck is called the Sacred Clown. And there is something very menacing and kind of Joker-like about this clown. And so again, you want to be like careful. You want to be respectful when you're approaching this deck with your energy, because you want to make sure you're not bringing in anything that's going to give you a false reading, a reading that's charged maybe with something you don't want it to be charged with. You only always and ever want tarot to help you. And it's a neutral tool, always. All cards are just a neutral tool. And a lot of it depends on the intentionality of the author, but then what energy you're bringing into it. So you have a lot of control there. So if you're into being able to balance working with something that has a bit of a dark energy to it, then I say go for it. So here I'm going to go ahead and do a little shuffle, and let's, ooh, this card wants to come out. One reading for the collective. Okay, so I have an Eight of Wands here in reverse. So I'm going to place this down here, and whoop, here we go. Look at that. Ah! And I have this card here. This is an Eight of Wands in reversed. I'm seeing some really, God, again, the colors, this combination of like this beautiful sort of fluorescent pink and the yellow with all the dark blues and purples. It's just such a gorgeous use of contrasts and using the vibrancy that you get when you put like purple and yellow next to each other, but then having a little bit of orange and blue and green to also make this gorgeous color scheme. And the way that you can, the light creates these gorgeous, like bright, hot points. So if I'm thinking about this card here, and I'm thinking about, this is a reading for the collective, and right now as the collective, if we're thinking about how to process the energy around us, whether it's something that's around you locally, because this is a general reading, whether it's something that's around you locally or something that's just like around you and you're just kind of feeling it in the world at large, and there's a little bit of a darkness. There's delays, frustration, resisting change. All of this can like be sort of baked into the Eight of Wands. What's interesting here is, so we have like these trees that have been cut off. And so I'm thinking a lot about like Michelangelo and the Sistine ceiling and the way that he's using this imagery of trees and trees cut off to talk about like life and death, and to talk about, especially when he's going into the flood and he's got like the rotting trees and the trees that are being cut off, right? And I'm seeing something very similar here. There's like these tree stumps, like the wands maybe were made of these trees, but we still have to deal with this kind of aftermath, I suppose. There's something about resisting that is kind of striking me about the character of the Eight of Wands when I'm thinking about our collective healing and the collective energy that we're doing right now. Like, it's resisting change, resisting progress, resisting becoming a more magical, directed, or focused version of what our potential is as humans. Maybe being feared. Maybe there's this idea of like not valuing change or progress because we don't see its purpose. Because we're like, well, what was wrong with the way things were? What was wrong with these trees? They were beautiful. They were natural. God put them here. Right? I feel like it's something that's like, there's this, so it's like I'm seeing all of these wands like almost traveling up and being sucked into this portal here. Right? And once all of these wands go, once they leave, my question is what's going to be left? Right? Like something barren, the source of light is going to be gone. Right? What if, it's actually so funny now that I'm thinking about this, because wasn't there supposed to be like a rapture this week? And it's like, I'm seeing almost like a rapture scene happening here. Yeah, so it's like progress is going to happen anyway. The change is going to happen anyway. These wands are wands now, but they're also always going to be the tree. And so we don't have to fear what they are now or what it's becoming, because it's like just, it's all intuitively going into a direction and going through this magical portal. Right? And so I don't know, where do we want to be? Do we want to be through this portal? Or do we want to stay here? Right? But the thing is I don't think there is a reason to fear, because nature always finds a way. Like anything that's good, anything with good roots is going to grow. It's going to continue to grow. So there's no real threat here, right? I feel though, I'm getting this feeling that I get when I'm not quite on the right track. And so what I want to do is pull something. I've got this deck here that is a chakra deck. This is called the Chakra Love deck, and this is like a little mini deck that I like to use when I have, oh, here we go. When I need like kind of an explicit answer in a direction. And here this one is saying, so this is our throat chakra, lapis lazuli. Ooh, I actually have a piece of lapis right here. Lapis lazuli. Express your true self. The world needs you. Oh my God. And so I think that that's actually so beautiful that like, there's this idea of like fear and resistance to coming into our most magical form. And so you're just being encouraged, express your true self, the world needs you. So whoever's watching this right now, whether anybody is watching it now live, I can't tell, I don't think so. But if anyone's watching it later, this reading is meant to find whoever finds this video and sticks around long enough to watch the reading, right? So if you are one of these people, I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. Don't fear transforming into your most magical, focused, directed potential. Don't fear progressing past a point where you think you are capable or able, because you're going to find that you're going to grow into that. Once you go through this portal, no, you're not coming back to what you once were, but that's okay. There will be more trees. Your business is to go through this portal, to be as magical as you can be and to express yourself. Express your true self. The world needs you. That is how we are going to help heal and grow, no matter what we see around us right now. So that, I think, is our collective reading for today. I thank you so much. If you stay to the end of this, I appreciate you so much. I will be back next Tuesday with a new deck, and I'm just so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me. Bye.